So, the two-tiered justice system. It's a major problem. It's undermining fairness, public faith in the justice system. You know, it's crazy out there right now. It's making it really hard for anybody to get a fair shake in society right now. Now, it's supposed to be fair for everyone. Our justice system has been touted as being fair, being the big kahuna of justice. And we're not seeing that lately, man. So it's harder for everybody to get a fair shake. So when things are happening right now, we got different justice systems based on wealth, based on race, social class, and even politics. So how the heck did we get here? What caused all of this?
The two-tier justice system. I mean, that's been part of America since it's been a nation, especially when it comes to black people. I mean, it's funny when you hear politicians on there and say there's a two-tier justice system, and they're referring to rich politicians, one in particular, and you think like, that's interesting because law's been like that for hundreds of years when it comes to black people. Every black person knows that we go to court, there's a different justice system for us than it is for anybody else.
No doubt.
So that's nothing new, but it's funny to see that flipped around, if they're talking about Trump and saying, hey, well, they're not treating Trump like they did Hunter Biden. Man, what are you talking about? Trump's did all the crimes he's done. He had the documents. He's there. He's walking around Mar-a-Lago playing golf. You don't see black people doing that if they go to jail. That's a two-tier justice system.
Right.
He's getting the benefit of the doubt on everything he's done. He's got multiple counts. And so it's just funny when we hear the word two-tier come out. It's to me, it's like a joke. Like, really? You talking about that? Because black people have been suffering that for hundreds of years.
Exactly. What do you think about, so we know money, power, and fame, that's what we're attracted to. Mm-hmm. So we as a society, do you think that that's what our attraction is? Example would be like Simpson case in 1995, right? So we all remember the case. It went on for 8 months. Mm-hmm. During that time in LA County, there was 1,669 murder cases that we heard nothing about. Why is that? So what are we doing as well as far as giving attention to that? He's powerful. He was famous. But what about those other 1,669 individuals? So maybe also the media and us as a society are playing a major part in that too. I mean, we don't call out all the injustices for everybody else, but you got a little bit of money, you got a little bit of fame, we pay attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the downplay of the capitalist system. You know what I'm saying? Capitalism. People want to say that like, yeah, money and fame, you get a break.
Right.
I'm saying you can pay your way out of court. You can do things of that nature. I don't know if you guys looked at the 13th on Netflix, the documentary, but pretty much saying that most people of color, when they go to jail, is not because they committed a crime, it's because they can't afford to get out.
Exactly.
Right.
Or mama got to put the house up on mortgage or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's the two-tier justice system that we're talking about. And right, a lot of it's not black and white. A lot of it's going to be, it's going to be economical, when it comes to it.
A couple of statistics, though, just to throw it in so everybody understands when you talk about the racial disparity. So Black Americans are 5 times more than whites to be incarcerated. 1 in 81 Black adults in the U.S. Are serving in our state prisons. In 12 states, more than half the prison population is Black. 7 states maintain a Black-white disparity larger than 9-to-1 ratio. So what is that saying about us? Now, one of two things. Either we are crazy and we're just doing some crazy stuff, right, as Black Americans, or there is some racial disparity going on in the justice system.
Man, don't you love when Walanda's black back? Don't you just love it?
It's so funny because Steve and I were talking about that on the way over here.
She'll fact check Jesus, man.
Yes, sir.
I love that she comes back. She just makes us smarter just with her presence.
I appreciate y'all.
None of that.
But
You know what I'm saying?
these are things you can't defute. They're not refutable. You can go look up this information, guys. And so that's where the conversation starts. You want to argue, but we're not going to argue facts. We're not going to argue the numbers. We're not going to argue what is happening to us.
So here's where we go back to our conversation from last week, talking about fake news or misinformation, because the internet has made facts disputable, to your point, right? Mm-hmm. You say you can't dispute this. The internet has made facts disputable. I could put a link out there that says everything that you just said, and a dude can look to one of their favorite websites and pull a link up that says exactly the opposite of what you said, right? Because of the internet and because of our ability to utilize that in any way we want. Wikipedia, I could open up a website. It don't have to be Wikipedia. I could pay enough money right now to have my own website and post all my own thoughts and beliefs on there, and people can start using that as a source. Right. And so that's the sad part about it. Like there are reputable sites out there. We know what they are. Right. And you get your information from a reputable site, one that you know, that can certify that they are doing the right research to get the information.
I don't want to be looked upon as where she's getting her data from these specific sources. No, I go from multiple sources and I get that information and I fact check myself because like you said, I mean, that's what we teach in schools as far as credible sources. And if we're not teaching that type of information, that's where you get misinformation.
Well, just like you said, in school, part of the problem is this. When we were younger, this wasn't out there.
Right.
So I don't think that we were taught how to discern what is good information, what is disinformation.
Right.
And,
we didn't have to.
Yeah, because we had the news. We had the nightly news.
And the library.
And the library.
But we read books, y'all. We read books. We had that little
Dewey Decimal
in the card catalog.
We didn't want to make the effort. We was going to do all that, all them decimals.
But you're right.
Yeah, so if you don't have the skills to discern, then it's easy to be led astray, especially if you want to believe something. And I think that a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with being patriotic, okay? Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no.
Okay, but blind patriotism, you can't have that. Like, I love my country, okay? But just like I love my family, that don't mean my family don't do some things that are wrong.
Exactly. And
I think that a lot of times people say, oh, this country is the best country in the world. There's no way that we would have these problems. And I'm like, oh, look, I love this country too, but we got problems that we need to fix. That we need to, you know, really look at. And I don't think that people really see it that way. And people, you know, it's just like, oh, everything's fine. You just aren't, you know, you people over there aren't doing this or you people over there aren't doing that. And a lot of times when they say you people over there, they're them people too. Because when it comes down to it, poor white people,
just like us.
Yes, if you're poor and you're white and you get arrested and you have to go in front of a judge, you're not going to have the money to pay for a lawyer, okay? You're not going to probably have access to the people who are going to be able to get you off. You're not going to have the education to really be able to tell if you are being represented properly.
Exactly.
So you're maybe not quite as bad off as a black person because black people have to deal with how the jurors view you. So it's different, but you're pretty bad off too. And I feel like a lot of these groups have done an excellent job of making poor and middle-class white people say, that's these people over there. Y'all are fine. Don't worry about it. Look, y'all are fine. That's them over there. And that's the issue. That's where this two-tiered system, in my opinion, that's how the powers that be were able to create that. Because they've created a situation to where it's us and them, and people don't even realize that they're shooting themselves in them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's in a lot of aspects when it comes to politics and power. They divided the masses, divided the people in the same economical status, working class, poor, and have them battling for the crumbs that we get and not sharing the wealth. So, no, I agree with you, Steve.
So I do want to just wrap this up, but before I do, I want to acknowledge some of the points that were made by Walanda a moment ago about this is happening to us, right? And it seems to me, and I say this a lot, we need to get more involved with things like this is a great thing that we're doing right now because we're having we're having a conversation, and it gets people thinking. Hopefully, it inspires other people to act. But if we're not doing things ourselves, then we're just sitting back and taking it. And to your point, Walanda's like, this is happening to all these people, yada yada yada. What we doing about it? Like, I mean, we having a conversation about it today, but tomorrow we gonna go out there, and if something happens to one of us, we gonna be in the same situation that your friend was in. They're looking for a way to get us locked up, right? So at the end of the day, I don't know if this is ever gonna change. If our justice system will ever be fair, because to your point, Ace, it started off unfair, right? I think it's actually grown from being, hey, this is for the white man's justice, to then your social class, and your wealth, right? Then your social class. Now all of a sudden, it's politicians.
Yeah.
It's like Democrats versus Republicans. They're shouting how it's two-tiered based on that. Like, hey, this stuff happened in the Trump. What about Biden? What about, now it's just spreading. It's growing. And if we don't do something about it, it's just going to continue to grow, man.
Yeah, they're just using it horribly. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And not addressing the problem that's actually out there. There's a real two-tier justice system out there. I guarantee you Trump ain't feeling it. Hunter Biden ain't feeling it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he says he's feeling it.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a Republican and they're targeting me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right? So he is feeling it. And in his mind, he's feeling it. Right? And his supporters will say he's feeling it. So perception is reality.
Right. That's his reality.
You just can't brush it under the table because we don't agree. Because I sure as hell don't agree. I think he got money and he's being justifiably pursued and indicted. I think it's all for a reason, but not to him and his supporters. So we can't just push that under the table or sweep it under the table. We got to be like, how do we address this? Because if we address that, we address the things that are impacting us as well.
Right.
So
Well, the system been designed through policy to suppress other people. So you have to look at policies. So we're not in there again, why it's important to vote and listen and see what's going on with legislation, because your policies have been placed to suppress others. So what you have to go for is policy first.
Right.
And that's what a lot of us are just not interested in, and we don't pay attention. Right. And it's hard because some of us are not in the powered position in order to influence policy. But conversation is a start.
the Supreme Court has run amok.
You already knew
Okay.
you was going with that, man.
2023 is like a bad look for the Supreme Court and for America, as far as I'm concerned. There's been a bunch of landmark decisions that have been tossed down, especially in the past week, but all year long, really. There's been a lot of right-leaning decisions around abortion, gun rights, affirmative action, student loans, the whole nine.
It's ugly.
It's getting real ugly, man. And I mean, right now, I want to address the elephant in the room. So, are these political decisions that are being made? And if so, what happened to our system of checks and balances?
I know exactly what happened with this one. This is crazy. But Mitch McConnell cut a deal with. Well, first and foremost, Mitch McConnell stopped Obama from putting the justice in power. He blocked it right before he left office. That same justice, he gave it over to Trump, and he allowed Trump to put in. They allowed Trump to put in judges, and not only Supreme Court judges, but federal judges also. While he was in term, 4 years. That's what Mitch McConnell got done. You know what I'm saying? That's where the power was really lied. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. And I mean, he took a whole bunch of heat dealing with Trump and January 6th and the whole 9 yards to get that done. But now we're feeling the wrath of that. You know what I'm saying? We're feeling the wrath of that. Started with Roe versus Wade, affirmative action, student loans, and they ain't stopped there yet. That comes directly from Mitch McConnell, who kind of cut a deal with Trump. I'm not going to impeach you as long as you allow, as long as you put these judges in play.
Right.
And you get it over. So it's been in play for the longest, and that's why when the judges would be getting confirmed, we're fighting against getting them confirmed. You know what I'm saying? Because of now what's happening. You know what I'm saying? They're just striking stuff down left and right, not even making any sense. Clarence Thomas, black as the other side of the moon.
Sorry, roll my eyes. I can't with that man.
Voting against his people, which comes to the saying, all skin folk ain't your kinfolk.
Okay.
Like, what can we say about Clarence Thomas? We ain't got enough on this show to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's basically where it came from politically, and why that's getting shot down now. The reasons why we can talk about that and vibe on that and get into the discussion, definitely.
Right. Well, what I didn't understand, and I had to do my research again, but so we have 9 individuals, right? And so what we were looking at, I was like, why do I even know their political stance? Again, it's supposed to be non-bipartisan.
Yep.
What does that mean? Let's break that down. First of all, I shouldn't know your political affiliation, but we do, right? So we have 6 that are conservative, and we have 3 that are liberal.
Jeez.
So when the decisions were being made, every single one, like with the abortion Roe versus Wade, the student loans, the LGBTQ situation, affirmative action, we have a dissent of 3 people versus 6. Now, once again, if you look at them, we can't divide them by male and female, because that's not correct. We can't even do black or white because we got, old Clarence over there on one side. But what is the difference between them? 6 are conservative, 3 are liberal. And to me, that is a huge issue. I should know your political affiliation. If you are basing your decisions on the Constitution, how are we all aligned politically? That's the only separation between these individual groups when they are making decisions. That is a big concern to me. And again, we got 9 people making decisions for the whole country. You know, and that's the final say. That's like your mom and daddy said something. That's it. We're done. And again, Supreme Court has not always been on the right side of history. We can go through a plethora of court cases. Dred Scott decision that was uplifting slavery in U.S. territories. So were they correct on their decision? Will we all in this room be here if they were correct on the decision? So we just need to look at, again, I don't know what the answer is to make changes. I don't want to be stacking courts. That's not what I think we need to do. But this whole non-bipartisan, it ain't non-bipartisan. It's definitely partisan in the decisions that are being made here that are impacting, once again, a lot of us in a negative way. Or, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I could tell you about some of these, the impact is going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, guys, voting rights is next. They already started working on that. So voting rights. And to those who don't know, we vote, and I don't have the years here. I did my studies, but, every other term, every other year, they have to vote on our voting rights, and what's going to stop them from changing that? And that'll mess you up. They're already trying to limit it. They're already trying to do things actually to depress people from voting, people of color, people of mild means. What happens when they change? The Supreme Court goes and changes the voting rights. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't over. This is just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we all have common sense. So if they wanted to do it right, they'll just make it easy. They would just cut it down the middle and say, if they want to do it politically, they'd have, 4 Democrats, 4 conservatives, and maybe one person, maybe the head judge who's non-bipartisan. If they want to do it right, but nobody wants to do it right. It's all
That's
politics.
what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. So they're saying it's not political, but we all know it is. That's why when they say stack the court, they want to stack it one way or the other. And again, I fall obviously towards the left, but I don't think that a whole court should be left either. I don't want people's perspective thinking. I think it should be split down the middle, and like you said, maybe an independent in the middle. So when you're making these decisions,
be the independent guy, kind of like the kind of like the vice president is in the in the House of Representatives, but nobody. The people in power don't want it to make sense. They wanted to lean their way. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like even on a Roe versus Wade, to turn that back. To do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
And again, I keep saying this, but if Trump goes to jail, them 3 are gone. Because you can't have a criminal choosing 3 or appointing 3 of your justices to do the right thing. I'm like, if he's a criminal, then what is it saying about the decisions that you just made? How did you even get on the court? I hope they relook at that. That's all I'm going to say.
He didn't appoint him. I'm telling you, Mitch McConnell appointed him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know.
Knowledgeable enough to make
Yeah, I know. Well, he ain't. Well, right. But you know what I mean? I'm like, but you was in there. No, sir. No, sir. We got 3 people in here that
You don't know the scary part about that?
scary.
Judge Cannon in Florida, it's a decision she can make. If she does it, that's final. And she's a federal
Oh, wow.
judge.
She's a federal. Right.
So in that court case, if she deems one way, I don't know if she does or not. I can't remember the things on it. But if she,
so
And that's what I'm saying.
If she looks at the case and decides that doesn't think it's worthy and she votes on it, she can
Then that's
nullify
it,
that
right?
whole case. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, so who do we feel that these people deserve that much power? Everyone's checks and balances. I'm like, well, who's checking the Supreme Court? There's 9
Nobody.
individuals. Exactly. No one. And that's just, I just think the precedent of it itself is very dangerous. And again, I'm more left leaning, but I do not agree that any of the courts should be stacked one way or the other. I think if you're going to go based on the Constitution and law, then that's what you do. That's what your decisions should derive from.
Yeah, they twisted
and they're
the
not.
Constitution all
Everybody
up.
has biases. You're not telling me you're not putting your political views and those or religious views or morals and values come to play when you make a decision. We do that every single day.
It's nuts out there what's going on. But once again, it's just important for us to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lesson right here. Pay attention, man. I mean, it's affecting our lives. It's going to affect our lives. I got some people that I know, I ain't going to call out no names, that, man, I don't pay attention to that. What's going on? I got a friend of mine that I had said, look, man, turn off Sports Center. At least, it repeats.
Yeah.
And for an hour, turn on, your news networks, CNN and MSNBC, something, and know what's going on in the world. I shouldn't talk to you talking about who's George Santos. Like, really? You're a grown man, bro.
Right.
Who's George Santos?
in
I was
your
like,
boy's
dude.
defense, Santos don't know who he is, man.
Yeah, real talk.
Bro.
And I told him, dude, turn off Sports Center, man.
There's a lot of things that have been happening with the Supreme Court. We got Roe versus Wade. We got the abortion. We got the student loan debt. We got affirmative action. All this stuff, man. So, which one of those things do you think is going to have the biggest impact on society, and why? Because they all have, to me, huge implications. But like, I'm trying to figure out from y'all, which one do you think is going to be, let's just say, the worst consequence?
The LGBTQ
Me too.
decision, because when you say that you can discriminate against one group of people,
There you go.
yeah, you'll be able to discriminate against other groups of people. That's a very
Dangerous.
first things first. I have a trans kid
Me too.
and a lesbian kid. Okay, so I was like, what the, but. Even if I didn't, if you can discriminate against one group of people, you can discriminate
Right.
against another group of people.
Yeah, the way that the decision was crafted leads you to believe that if I feel a certain way and I say that my religion tells me I can't do this, then you can like utilize that for anyone. Like my religion tells me that black people are bad, and I can't do business with you, right? Because of that, right? The way that the decision was crafted is not, they don't do enough work at really funneling down their decisions to only apply to the appropriate situations. The way that they crafted a decision, it's so wide open. You could use it for anything, like you said.
That's called building precedent when you talk
Yes.
about being legal. And so I can build this and I can go back and use that in another
It's
case.
right.
Okay, so did you say president or precedence?
Precedence.
Something
He
like
said
that,
precedence.
precedent.
He
Because
said
I'm
it
building a
correct.
president too.
He said president.
All right, so
Precedence.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, the ghetto or the southern slang might cover
The
it.
vernacular.
Yeah. But y'all know what I mean, man. You know, that P word that legal.
The one that means before, something that happened before.
Don't ask me to spell it.
That's what's spelled.
That's what the computer for.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's basically all that's saying. So yeah, man, it's horrible what's going on legislation wise, and it's crazy for any form of people that are not Christian national. You know, that's how they try to make it justifiable. I told people Christian national. I told you that That's the devil's homeboys right there. Real talk. I mean, it's just they utilize religion to try to justify doing things, but that's just for a certain kind of people.
Yeah. So Supreme Court, this is a lifetime appointment. You get selected, you there until you die or you retire. It is one or the other, right? You got to choose to go. Can't nobody get rid of you. Nothing. So we talked in our last conversation about like what can we do? What are the steps that we could take? Because when they make these decisions, you know, it seems to a lot of people like we just have to sit back and take it. But there's steps. I mean, so I wanted to ask you guys, what are some of the things that we can do as a people, not just black people, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people mad. LGBTQ community, all types of people are mad at these decisions. Just anybody who wants to go to school, like I don't care. Like if you Hispanic, that impacted you.
Yes, it did.
If you Asian, little do you know, you think it's a good thing, and maybe it is.
Yeah,
maybe it is.
they're using them.
Yeah, no
They're
doubt.
using them.
But I'm just trying to figure out like what is it can we do to combat this?